From the player getting suspended for waving around a gun on Instagram Live to him straight up beating a teen in his own home, these are all the reasons why Ja Morant is the most controversial player in the NBA. For starters, on May 14th, Ja got suspended by the Memphis Grizzlies. Why do you ask? Well, it turns out that Morant was flashing a gun on Instagram Live, and in a matter of seconds, screenshots of the video started spreading like wildfire on the internet. Now, considering this wasn't exactly his first time being involved in something like this, the team took quick action. The Grizzlies took to Twitter to state that he'd been suspended from all team activities, pending a league review. The controversial player has honestly been getting on a lot of people's nerves. I mean, this isn't even the first time in 2023 he's been seen flashing around a firearm, because a pretty similar event also happened back in March. So this time, surprise, surprise, Morant did the exact same thing. He got suspended after he recorded himself waving a gun in a Colorado strip club. Because of this, the NBA decided to suspend the guy on March 12th. The suspension lasted a total of 8 games, and they mentioned that it was because he's done things that were totally detrimental to the league. Now, Morant didn't have to face any charges for this little act, but the Colorado police did give their 2 cents on the video. They called it concerning, and well, yeah, I suppose that's one way to put it. Now, obviously, a big name like Ja can't just go around doing stuff like this. So he was made to join a counseling program just a few days after this incident. He talked to ESPN's Jalen Rose about it and mentioned that he doesn't condone any type of violence and that he took full responsibility for his improper behavior. Though, I mean, the counseling session really must not have been that useful, considering he'd go on to flash another firearm just months later. And just when you thought you've heard the last of his obsession with firearms, there's another incident you just need to know about. It turns out earlier in January 2023, he may have actually pointed a gun at the Indiana Pacers. According to The Athletic, the Indiana Pacers got all riled up after a red laser was pointed at them from a nearby car. And guess who was in it? Ja freaking Morant with a bunch of his friends. This happened after a game between the Grizzlies and the Pacers, where big guy Morant here decided he'd have some fun, in his own twisted sense. Now, the Pacers claimed that the laser was coming from a gun, and considering Ja's history with firearms, I honestly don't doubt it. The guy has absolutely no control and is a total man-child. But that's not even the end of this controversy. Turns out one of Morant's friends got into a verbal fight with one of the players during the game, which ended with Devontae Pack being removed from the game. It was never confirmed if the laser was coming from a weapon, but considering it's Ja, would you be surprised? I mean, he went as far as to threaten someone on Twitter once, and I'm talking full-on death threat level stuff. This was during the 2021-2022 season, and while he wasn't exactly full of rainbows and sunshine back then, let's just say he wasn't involved in countless controversies as he is now. Many even considered him to be one of the best players in the NBA with the potential to become a massive superstar, but this opinion started to change when people saw Ja for the violence he was capable of. Turns out the dude got all angry when a troll on Twitter left him a mean comment. Hey, everyone's gotten hate online before, right? But I bet no one's had a response quite like Morant's. Ja replied by saying that it's free to see how hollows feel. His fans immediately picked up on what that meant. Basically, he was threatening to shoot the guy who left the reply. Now, I shouldn't have to tell you that stuff like this isn't appropriate, especially when coming from someone like Morant who represents the NBA. And if it was one single issue, you could say that it was water under the bridge. But Morant has shown countless times that behavior like this is just part of his personality. And while he may claim to be making changes for the better, we've already seen how stuff like counseling has done absolutely nothing to get him to address these issues. And it's not just people online that he's been threatening, because the guy got physical with a mall security guard too. You'd think that going out of your way to make someone else's life more difficult would be something that Ja wouldn't do. But at this point, I've got no expectations from the guy. Turns out he got really heated during an interaction with a Memphis Mall guard. This led to the security guard filing a police report against the player. Ja even threatened to fight the guy in the parking lot of the mall. Classy as always, yeah? And he didn't just keep making threats this time. The Memphis Grizzlies player apparently butted heads with the security guard and even tried to shove him. Now, fans were confused as to what caused this fight in the first place. Turns out it involved Morant's mother, who got into an argument with one of the employees, and instead of, trying to resolve it in a civil manner, Morant thought it'd be a fantastic idea to come into the mall with his ragtag group of yes men and basically stir stuff up. Obviously, you can't be going around and doing things like that, so the mall security asked him to leave politely, but Morant doesn't have the word polite in his dictionary, apparently, which is what led to the entire fight taking place. Sheesh, the guy seems like he's got no control, especially when his family gets involved. Because back in September 2022, he got into a verbal altercation at his sister's high school, and boy is it spicy. Turns out Ja's sister was getting into an argument with another teenager. Big mistake, especially when you know that her brother can arrive at any moment. So Morant, along with some family and friends, stormed into the high school volleyball game where the verbal fight was taking place, even though officers tried to block their entry. One of Morant's friends was all like, "Ain't gonna stop me," and just pushed past the officer. And guess what? Some of the witnesses even said that they saw the friend outright slap the phone out of a teenager's hands and threatened to beat the kid up. And how did Morant defend himself during all this? Well, he just said that he was defending his sister. Now, I don't know about you, but I can't see what part of storming into a high school volleyball game and then threatening to beat up kids counts as protection, but hey, maybe I just lack the expert professional insight that someone like Morant possesses. He's clearly thinking on a much higher plane of existence than the rest of us. Maybe that's why he thought it was a good idea to assault a 17-year-old. Yeah, just when you think you've heard the last of it, Morant has another major controversy ready to dish out. The guy apparently got into major trouble for beating up a teenager. This happened during an off-season pickup basketball game which was happening at Morant's place. So what happened was that the teen passed the basketball over to Ja, who couldn't handle the speed of it. This led to the ball hitting Morant firmly in the face, but hey, simple mistake, right? Nope, Morant went absolutely wild and decided to punch the kid to the ground. And the worst part, he wasn't alone in this, because a friend of his joined in on the chaos too, punching a defenseless teen who was already down on the ground. It's the kind of behavior you really don't expect to see from any NBA player. Even one that has earned the title of being the league's most controversial, and he didn't even stop there. Ja, in his classic style, went on to pull a gun on the teenager and seemingly threatened to shoot him. Probably the funniest bit in all this is when Morant said that the kid was actually threatening him, and the player felt like he was actually in danger. I mean, seriously? I find that hard to believe. The local district attorney didn't choose to charge Morant, but there's a lawsuit against the dude over this incident. So there you have it. From him straight up beating a teen in his own home, to the Memphis Grizzlies player getting suspended for waving around a gun on Instagram Live, those were all the reasons why Ja Morant is the most controversial player in the NBA.